Hello, welcome to Star Wars Spelt Out. I'm your host, Josh Chapman, and today recurring guest. Love a good recurring guest. Had some really great guests the last couple of weeks, but we, it's been a bit of a lady fest. With like Elion and Claire and all those other people. Let's try to get some dudes back on. When's it going to be the dude's turn? When's it going to be a dude's turn to do something around there in Star Wars? But let's just get him on. Been on a few times. Always great to chat. Dave Strutt, how you going, buddy?
Good, dude. Thank you very much for having me. Back for the third time.
Yeah, now I was just thinking about when you were on, you were definitely on just before Celebration Anaheim.
Yes.
And you've been on a few times. Have you been on, you were on some of the blog pods at Anaheim, definitely. I'm sure you popped up. You must have popped up on. No, you must have popped up on.
No, it was Chicago.
Anaheim,
I was on some of the blog pods in Chicago, and then I was on a few weeks post Chicago when the Vanity Fair article dropped.
I could have swore you must have been on the Anaheim ones. I'll have to get the train spotters onto it, but because one of my highlights, I don't think it was actually documented on the podcast, but one of my absolute highlights of Anaheim was going on the Haunted Mansion ride with you at Disneyland.
Yep.
You were just excited about the fact there was no line.
Oh, dude, I was terrified. I can't. Yeah, we got out of Galaxy's Edge, left everyone there. It was just you and I. Yeah, it was just you and me, and then we met Catherine Dean afterwards, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it was just us. And dude, I was terrified because I looked out the front of there and there was zero line. There was nobody waiting. I was like, oh shit, is it
closed?
Is it closed? No, don't be closed. Please don't be closed. And no, there's someone that we walked up straight into the stretching room, and it was wonderful.
It's the only way to do it, isn't it? I can't go back. We did Disneyland a few days before, and it was really busy, and I was there with Matt Mole and some of the other guys, and we paid for the privilege to just get on the lines, especially for Galaxy's Edge, because we just thought, the Star Wars night, everybody's going to be at Galaxy's Edge, so it'll be even harder to get onto. So let's get it done to say that we did it, just in case we can't get on Friday. But we still got on there. But then it was right. Everybody was at Galaxy's Edge, and the rest of the park was empty.
It was, yeah. Because, the fact that most of we were in there for 6 hours, I think it was 6 or 7 hours. Yeah, but it's like the first half of that was in Galaxy's Edge, just going on the 2 Star Wars rides, and then after that, it was. What did we do?
We did Indiana Jones,
Mansion, Indiana Jones, Jungle Cruise. I can't believe we had to wait for Jungle Cruise.
Yeah,
but only because we didn't have enough people to fill up a boat.
Yeah, that's right. It wasn't Indiana Jones was mad because it still took us 10 minutes to walk to the front of the line with no line.
It did. It's an outrageously long
And I've just got to
queue.
imagine if you were standing there for that'd be half your day. And that was the thing. I was saying to people since who've asked about Disneyland, should we go and take the kids? And I'm going, well, it's fun, but standing in lines all day. If you could do it, I'm hoping that if I end up going to Japan, it's looking like we will. And there is a Disneyland there. And I'm hoping they'll do a Star Wars night thing there. I think I'll just make my kids do the endurance. Because I think we'll take the kids to Japan. Just say, look, we're going to be up all night tonight because we're going to hit Disneyland hard. And you're going to get to go on everything as many times as you want. Mm-hmm. As opposed to going during the day and you might get on 3 things and you're going to be in lines all day. I think just suck it up.
Yeah. Just suck it up and get it. At least you're... at least your kids are a little bit older.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So, it's kind of, it wouldn't be kind of too bad, but God, yeah, it's, I'm trying to think what Star Wars night at Tokyo Disney would look like.
Because they don't have a Galaxy's Edge though, do they?
They don't, no.
So I'm not even, I'm just making assumptions that they would do it. They might just.
Oh, they probably will.
They'll probably just do it and have a parade and do something out the front. Who cares?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't really care if there's Star Wars stuff or not. If it means that there's a night where I can potentially go and there's no lines, I'll just take that.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
I'll just do that regardless.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean that was just amazing. Like for some reason, I thought that maybe we obviously didn't record that bit, but you were like, you kept going on about how you excited you were about Haunted Mansion. So like, if I've got to go, like I've never been, like, isn't there a movie that's coming out or just come out?
It's just come out. I think it came out Thursday or Friday, last Thursday, Friday, whichever the 28th was. But yeah, I've not gone to see it yet. I will see it though. And I'm looking forward to it.
There's an old one.
Must be better than.
Isn't there like an
Eddie Murphy?
Right,
it was the Eddie Murphy one, which
the '90s Eddie Murphy sort of.
I know it was post Pirates.
Oh really?
Yeah, because Pirates of the Caribbean was the one where all of a sudden Disney were kind of like, Pirates work. Let's see what other rides we can put into it, and none of them have quite worked since.
That Jungle Cruise one was like not bad.
Oh, Jungle Cruise one was pretty good actually. I did enjoy that. That had The Rock and.
Like this came out during COVID, I think. Yeah, I remember. I just think that was one of those like, we're just going to chuck it on Disney Plus, and and it's who knows. It might be gone now. I just now half expect to log into Disney Plus all the time, and just half the stuff is going to be gone.
Oh right, yeah. You never know. It's, I mean, at least the one thing with Disney Plus is that it's like if it is Disney, it's unlikely to go anywhere. It's if it's kind of like a co-production with someone like your Spider-Man or your Indiana Jones. That's when it might kind of phase in and out.
Well, one of the crazy things that came out about a week or two ago was that apparently Disney are like, we're not making DVDs in Australia anymore. We're not selling DVDs in Australia anymore. So basically, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3, they're like, this is the last physical release that we're going to release in Australia. Wow. So which means Indiana, like Dial of Destiny, you won't be able to buy on DVD in Australia.
Oh, right. Oh, but then again, though, that's a...
or is that a joint production? Is that a...
Paramount.
Oh, because it had a Disney...
It's Paramount and Lucasfilm.
Did it have a Disney... It had a Disney logo at the start, didn't it? I guess like you said, that's a double. Maybe it'll be all right.
It did, yeah, but that's because they own Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
So the first 4 films, it's including Crystal Skull, which came out in 2010. Obviously, George Lucas still owned Lucasfilm at that point in time, so it was kind of like a It's kind of like a co thing because, I mean, the whole kind of thing with Star Wars was, when they bought 20th Century Fox. Because the original Star Wars, the first 6 were 20th Century Fox productions in cahoots with Lucasfilm. And so it was only after they bought Lucasfilm and 20th Century Fox was that it was on. Yeah. Oh, no, I'm getting my timeline mixed up. It was on, the Star Wars films were on before
they bought Fox, but Star Wars is a weird one. Like the original recipe Star Wars is weird because Fox paid to make that, and then Empire and Jedi, Lucas paid for it out of his own money. So I think they still distributed it, but I think he basically I think Empire was the one he actually made all the money on because he's like, I will put up all the money up front. Yes. And I basically get to keep most of the profit, and you get to ship it out to the cinemas and distribute it. But that was the one I think he actually made all the coin on. I think that was the biggest risk because he's like, well, I've put all my eggs in Empire, all my own money, but it, that will give me the biggest reward at the back. Look, maybe that'd be good because it seems kind of dumb that I've got like 4 Indiana Jones Blu-rays on my shelf, and then I just all of a sudden I can't. We just go back to pirated DVDs, and you'll go to Celebration Japan and somebody's just like contraband, like it's the holiday special, trying to get copies of Dial of Destiny, a legitimate movie that came out and was a thing. And it's crazy, but I just don't. We'll just say this before off air, just because I'm recording from my study. I've been clearing it out. It's just we've just got boxes and boxes of compact discs, and I just refuse to get rid of them because I know that one day Spotify or whatever I use for my streaming now is going to start pulling stuff, and it's just not going to be there anymore. And I'm going to go, if I want to listen to Temple of Low Men by Crowded House, I've got to go fish into my box of stuff and fish it out, or rip it, or put it, like have a MP3 of it somewhere, or.
Right, yeah, because I mean, it's. I mean, don't know. I love physical. always have done. I mean, I'm part of the physical generation.
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of like the last of them, really.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's. I remember when I used to have all of my DVDs in the cases, and they were just packed in shelves. And I'd be kind of like, oh, I really feel like watching something. And I'd spend probably a lot of the time that I'd feel that I would be sat there watching something, just staring at racks.
Not knowing where to start.
What do I want to watch? Oh, yeah, that might be good.
But is it the same as like flicking through Netflix? But it's weird though, because obviously if you flip through Netflix or Disney or whatever, it's some stuff you're into and then other just random stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking at your wall of things, that's stuff that you've gone out and bought and you know that you like. So it's even harder because you've gone, well, I know I like everything here because that's why I've got it.
Right.
So rather than going, I'm going to pick something that I like, or I'm going to take a risk on something, or I've heard that maybe that's okay and I'll just watch it.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a different dilemma.
It is. Yeah. And it takes just as much time. In fact, it probably would. I'd say it probably takes even longer because you're just scanning through menus. You're almost kind of like flipping through records at the record store.
Mm.
You know, because you're just looking at cover after cover. Whereas if you're looking at there, you're just looking at spines.
Can you remember the last
you can cover
DVD
a lot more.
you played? Like you actually physically got out of a box, put it in the DVD player, and sat down and watched it.
The last physical
it's such a ridiculous. It should be the easiest question in the world to ask because it could be like, I watched something last week, but it's
the last bit of physical media I watched was the Blair Witch Project last Halloween.
Wow, so nearly a year ago.
Yeah, it was Blair Witch Project because I've just got a total nostalgia for the DVD menu.
So it wasn't even the movie. It was like, well,
no,
I can't miss out on that menu.
I mean, it's like I wanted to, but it's just, I don't know.
I've got to pop it in.
Yeah, you know, it's just I've got this just 1999. You know, it's like I saw that movie in the theater twice. Loved it both times. I, in fact, loved it more the second time round, even though I knew what was coming. But because I knew what was coming, just the kind of general kind of sound effects and atmosphere affected me a bit more. Because I knew what was coming. But I just remember when I bought that DVD, I watched the crap out of it. And I just always remember you put the disc in and then the Pathé logo would come up. And I always remember the music. And then the DVD menu would start and it would be kind of like the running through the forest. The light would be kind of, torchlight would be kind of like shining here, there, and everywhere. And they would then arrive to the house. And then the DVD menu is inside the house. And you just hear the torch menu would kind of just be kind of scanning across the house, and you hear some of the atmosphere. Dude, it's just so it's like a core memory.
So is that the same? Is DVD? When I say DVD, is that DVD? Like if I said what's the last Blu-ray? Would it?
No, I mean DVD.
So that's DVD.
Oh no, that's the last physical piece.
That's
of
the
media
last physical media. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Sorry, that I watched.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure whether you're trying to think back. I mean, the last DVD I put in, I can't remember. The last physical media I was Prisoner of Azkaban on Blu-ray because my daughter is really into Harry Potter, and they're all on Netflix, and she's been watching them. And then I can't remember what the reason was. I think her grandmother had found the first 3 movies on DVD somewhere, and so she was just like, "Oh, we'll just watch it. We've just got the DVD," and I just went, "Oh, I've got the Blu-ray on the shelf. Let's get the rather than the DVD. Let's get the Blu-ray out." So I got the Blu-ray out.
Let's get that 1080p in there.
Yeah, let's get that out. You know, we've got like a pretty big TV in it. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is, but this is almost quaint. You know, it was it was quite funny. But the thing is also when it comes to stuff like video games, I insist on getting the physical media. Like I don't want a digital version. Like I will always buy the physical media version of it. And I also, like a lot, unless it's like a brand new Star Wars game or something that I really, really want, I'll quite happly buy a disc, a game that's a year old at, for $20 and, and play that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why I haven't got the new,
like Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Survivor.
Like I'll just
wait. I flat out refuse to pay $70 for that. I'm like, no, absolutely not. You can
Yeah.
EA, you can kiss my butt.
Yeah, well, I bought that new, but like something like I've just started Gotham Knights, which isn't great, but I got it for like $20. I'm like, well, $20 and it's Batman.
why
You know,
not?
I can do that. You know, I'm not gonna, as opposed to like the new Legend of Zelda. I'm like, well, I need that now. I'll drop my money on Nintendo. They found some way to not discount their stuff anyway, so it's never going to get much cheaper, which is good on them. Before we started,
Nintendo being Nintendo, they've always been like that.
They've got some tricky way of doing it. So we're just going to pour one out for the bad motivators who wound up this week, who just put their last. Yep, there you go. Strutt's holding his can of drink up. Who wrapped up, which was sad to see him go, but go out on a high, which is very nice. But they're still continuing to disrupt. Even they don't realize it when we'd made arrangements to record, and I sort of said, "Hey, does this time work for you?" And you're like, "Yep, that's cool." And I stupidly forgot which bad motivator you live near, and I was putting in the time for Cruiser's time zone and not Dallas's time zone. So then, of course, when I thought the time came up, I said, "Oh, here's the link," and you went, "Are we doing this now?" and I think in the back of my head, I was like, I should probably check. And I'm like, no, like that's the time zone. Put it in. It's nearly time. And then of course I was 2 hours off. But luckily you were like, it's fine. I can do it now. I can do it. Still causing chaos. Those guys.
Absolutely. Well, the one thing was that when we originally kind of like spoke about me coming on, was that you said let's record at 7:30.
I think I said this time, because I was like, let's do this time, because I assumed it was 9, because I googled the time to see what time it was, and I'm like, well, that's a pretty reasonable time.
Yeah.
And I said, and I don't think I even said, and then later on I said, cool, so 9:30, and then of course you must have been like, well, what does he mean? Does he mean this or does he mean this? I
was like, 9:30 is fine by me. It's a little bit late, but hey, I've no problem.
I just not, sometimes you just don't know, because it's like you've got kids, so sometimes like, oh, is that early or late? Are the kids up? Do they go to bed? Like who? Anyway.
At 9:30, they better be in bed. I'll tell you
exactly.
That for
Same
sure.
here. Gosh, my kids are because my cat's away. She's been in work in New Zealand all week, so it's been solo dad all week, and it's been all right. Run a pretty tight ship. They're usually in bed not long after 7. Blah blah blah. I was talking to somebody at work about it, and she's just going, "Oh, when my kids are that age, I just let them go to bed whenever they want." I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare.
That sounds like you get nothing done.
Yeah, like ship them off. Like, I'm going to watch AFL 360 at 7:30. They've got to be in bed by then. Like, how do I get on my Australian rules football news? If they're still, like my oldest one, she doesn't go to sleep then. But I'm like, you can go read for an hour, and then I'll come turn your light off at 8:30.
Same with my eldest as well. Yeah, into bed 8:30. Can I read? Absolutely.
Go for it. Yeah, I'll come check and see if you're awake. So sadly, the end of the road for the motivators. But the podcast, bites the dust. Star Wars. Ahsoka comes out in a few weeks. Obviously, the strike is going on. I think a lot of people have decided not to cover certain stuff, especially people who are in America or affiliated and blah blah blah. Like, this podcast is a dinky die hobby podcast. We don't make any money. I'm not in a SAG. I don't do any of that. So we're all clear to talk about this. I feel comfortable. I don't think anyone's going to give a crap if we talk about stuff, which is cool. And if you feel like you don't want to, absolutely don't do that. Get what you want. Pay your writers, pay your actors, give everybody what they deserve.
Absolutely.
But I'm not feeling a lot of hype. I mean, maybe it's just because of the other outside forces. You feeling hype? You feeling the Ahsoka hype? Honestly, when the Scruffies said, "Oh yeah, we're going to do our review, like our prediction show," I went, "Oh yeah!" Like that's how I know it's happening, because the Scruffies are doing their prediction show.
I'm looking forward to it, but am I kind of bouncing off the walls about it? Not really. I don't know if it was because I wasn't kind of able to make it to Celebration in London that I'm not kind of feeling a bit kind of pumped, more pumped about it. Possibly, because Celebration always, it's
rekindles the fire kind of thing.
Is to kind of exactly, it's kind of like a Star Wars reboot, hype reboot, should I say? But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's. Am I going to watch it? Most certainly. Am I going to enjoy it? Too right.
I hope so.
No. I'm I'm kind of become kind of like a bit of a mindset when it comes down to kind of like watching stuff. I mean, it was exactly the same as when I went to see Dial of Destiny, and it's like I'm off of a lot of social media now.
Mm-hmm.
I only really do Facebook, and that's just to mostly kind of message family or friends or anything like that, and
People who get recording times wrong,
you know,
and stuff like that.
yeah. Never. Damn you, Cruiser. But I'm kind of staying away from kind of not
Outside
kind of
noises?
people's opinions, but kind of like yeah. You know, it's like I'm bored of seeing criticism everywhere.
Yep.
Because when I look at kind of like through social media and kind of review sites, etc., there just seems to be a lot more. I mean, even if it's something great, there's always someone somewhere with a megaphone shouting about how much they hate it.
You know, the funny thing is, sorry to interrupt, but like the way that I've looked at it and the way that I feel about it is that 99% of it doesn't influence me. It just annoys me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't make me change the way I think about it or anything, unless it's an amazingly succinct point or something I hadn't thought of. And most of the time I'm just like, this is just annoying because unless it's somebody that I know, pretty much I know.
Right.
I don't even trust your opinion. And like, I don't even care. And I don't even think that you're even being genuine about it, especially like you said, ones that are on megaphones. I'm just like, you know, something like Barbie, which I haven't seen yet. And Kat saw it the other day, she's in New Zealand. She said it was great. I can't wait. I want to go see it this weekend if I can.
Yes, I've seen it. It's fantastic.
But I'm just kind of like, if you're just coming from the usual places with the usual opinions, there's not even any point. Not that I would seek you out anyway, but anything that seeps in, I'm like, there is nothing that you could say that I could take seriously, regardless. Like, if you actually turned around and was like, oh, actually, it's great, then that would be the only way you would pique my interest. I'm like, oh, wow, that piece of crap actually, like, that's interesting. It's actually something different. Like,
Right. Yeah. It's just, I find it annoying, and it also just kind of bums me out. It really did. It was like I kind of got to a point in time, you know, it was like just before Dial of Destiny came out, and all of a sudden I was just seeing this bombarded by all these kind of like negative reviews, and it's kind of like, hey, okay, it's your opinion, but it's like, why does this algorithm keep throwing crap like this in my direction, not the positive stuff? And it just was starting to really bum me out, and I was like, you know what, I'm done.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And so I just kind of just got rid of it. I kind of deleted a bunch of stuff. I dropped out of a bunch of stuff. And I was kind of like, you know what? This is specifically indie. I was kind of like, you know what? This isn't going to be like the first three movies, because I grew up watching those movies. And when I watch them, I'm watching them through this kind of window of nostalgia. You know, I remember sitting in my parents' front room watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and so it's always going to make me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at Dial of Destiny and Crystal Skull, I think in overall kind of vibe and just wackiness, they're exactly the same as the first three.
Absolutely.
All the Indiana Jones films are bonkers.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
And so it was kind of like, you know what? I'm going to go into Dial of Destiny. I'm going to like, fantastic. All these many years late, decades later, I'm able to spend another 2.5 hours, or whatever it was, with Indiana Jones. We're going to go on a whip cracking adventure and punch some Nazis.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Which is why,
and you know what? I sat down at cinema, loved it.
Yeah. And I think that's why when sometimes you, like the case of like my parents, like don't go to the movies very often, you know, if a movie's on TV, they might catch something, you know, like prestige television, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
I don't even know if they've seen Dial of Destiny, but they were like, they went and saw Raiders of the Lost Ark at the cinema and blah blah. Have no,
Yeah.
And the last time they thought about Indiana Jones was the last time a movie came out, whatever. Like when Crystal Skull came out, they're like, oh yeah, we got some friends together and we went and saw Crystal Skull. Yeah, it was really fun. We had a great time because they just don't have any other like noise around them, like you said. They just like we saw Indiana Jones out for 2 hours, and we went out, we had a good time, and that was it, And when the new one came out, my dad's like, "Oh, Harrison Ford's going around again." I'm like, "Yeah, like it's good fun." Like he's like, "Yeah, I'll probably go check that out," And I just know that he'd be like, "Yeah, it was fun. Like we had a rollicking good time," and that was
Exactly.
it. And that was it. And yeah, like I know that we as fans of the things that we love, and like especially talking about like Ahsoka,
Yeah.
we bring baggage with it, we're sort of, but we'll also give it, we'll give it more leeway than some will, whether it's good or not. I came down pretty harsh on Mando season 3 because, I didn't think it was anywhere as good as the other ones, but, still had a lot going for it. I think Ahsoka will be better. But like something like,
I'd agree.
Like Secret Invasion. Did you watch Secret Invasion?
Yes, I did.
And it was kind of like,
Yeah.
it was all right. It wasn't amazing. Some weird choices and stuff. But again, it was kind of like, well, who cares? I just watched it and I didn't have to the be all and end all. Like, who cares?
I mean,
who cares?
I mean, it's like I find them. It's like it's. I don't know. I find like the Marvel series. I find the Marvel series kind of odd. It's a real kind of mixed bag, and I kind of ultimately see them as like stepping stones in between the movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's a
much more noticeable downgrade. Like the Star Wars stuff, the way that they do it. I guess given the fact that Star Wars is sort of fantastical and in space, and
it's kind of not real.
It doesn't
world,
feel
kind of.
like you're really, and the way that they've done. And I think also a lot of it has to do that the original movies, the ones that we love the dearest to most, not to everybody, were made in the 80s. So they've got a production value level that you can match pretty easily with television now, and it looks pretty close. And you're just like, and the thing is also, if you go, oh, there's a puppet, I'd much rather see a puppet than I would rather see a CG thing. So you can get away with that, as opposed to like all the Marvel movies start off and they're all like $100 million movies, and then when you go to TV, it feels like, oh shit, now we're just in a room with a bunch of people talking.
Right,
we're not, we're not doing certain things. So I think, like you said, like the breaks feel like they're pulled a lot harder. Not all of them. Something like Loki, I guess. But I don't know. I don't know if it's sustainable or not, this streaming television thing eventually. I feel like it's all going to eat itself.
Yeah, it's become kind of... It's become... And it's kind of... With like I've found like the post-Endgame kind of Marvel. So it's kind of like, for example, we're talking about the Marvel stuff. It's like the post-Endgame kind of stuff. So what's that? 3, 4, 5, and 6 phases, whatever.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that it's become incredibly saturated, and even the movies don't feel like events anymore.
They're kind of treading water.
Yeah, it's...
What are you leading to?
It's kind of like, there's another Marvel thing. It's like, oh, great, another one. I guess I'll watch it. Whereas when between the movies, I'm like, oh, that was fantastic, wasn't it? Oh, what's next?
Yeah.
Because you've got that kind of like 4 or 5 month gap where you got this in like anticipation kind of going. It's like I keep on forgetting that the Marvels are coming out in November.
And I really liked Miss Marvel too. Like I'm like, oh great, she was like charming as hell. Like that's cool.
That was a fun show.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna bring that in. Yeah, I'll go see that. But I think with Star Wars as well, like it's I understand why it's taken so long, COVID and everything else, and strikes and stuff. But it's got to get back to the cinema. Like I like the shows, but
agreed.
It's got to make a statement. And I was thinking about this the other day. I might have even seen somebody on Twitter was like, well, now that they've got this weird Twitter or X, what the hell it's called, where it's like paid for engagements or whatever it is, some stupid thing that encourages people to be dicks. And somebody, of course, puts in, what's your most controversial Star Wars opinion? Blah blah blah. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think my most controversial Star Wars opinion is that the Rise of Skywalker nearly killed Star Wars, like nearly killed Star Wars enthusiasm more than anything else. Just that last movie sort of fell. Like, I know that people dislike stuff like The Last Jedi and blah blah blah, but a lot of people love that as well and are quite passionate about it. And even same with like prequels and stuff as well. I just feel like Rise of Skywalker was so middle of the road and uninspiring that it kind of just flattened the excitement for a lot of people. Like, it wasn't so much that it was mad enough to be mad, to be there was no passion around. There's no passion around it one way or the other.
Right. It's like the Rise of Skywalker was a strange beast, and I mean it kind of felt rushed, basically, because it was. I mean, I think if they continued with Trevorrow's thing and perhaps, kind of put a couple of tweaks in there from what, I mean, I don't know if that leaked script or whatever was, like truly what he was going to do.
I read like a comic,
with like
somebody made a comic version of it as well.
I think, it was like,
I've read that. It's pretty bonkers. And there's a lot of there's a lot of like fan fiction-y weird, like Kylo Ren gets Mandalorian metal and pastes it on his face, like he fixes it. It just really edgelordy, fan fiction-y kind of stuff, and I'm just that's bad. I
mean, perhaps not kind of everything, but I mean, it was like returning to Coruscant, but
it did tie in closer with what had happened and did centralize that story. Like it did.
And what else? Kind of like the Stormtrooper uprising and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like I kind of feel like that would have been.
Well, I always thought the biggest trick that they didn't touch on was that the fact that the First Order were all stolen children. Like, you could have used that as an impetus to basically destroy their organization. It's like, well, we'll find your families.
Absolutely.
We'll bring you back to your, we'll get you to remember where you came from and do all, they touched on it really, really briefly in Rise of Skywalker, where they were like, was it the planet that, I'm going to say Zam Wessel, it's not Zam Wessel, Felicity, Zori Bliss.
Oh.
And she talks
Zori
about,
Bliss,
they came when they took the children away and blah, 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 and it hasn't been. And they kind of touched on it, but it really felt like they missed a trick there. Like, maybe it was too complicated. Sure. And I thought, maybe that could be a MacGuffin, that you've got you'd have the list or the details of everybody who'd been taken, and you could get that back to people, and you could broadcast it, and they'd all be like, well, I'm not fighting for these losers anymore. Like, I'm out of here.
Right.
I mean, maybe it was too far. Nobody asked me, Dave. Like, nobody.
Nor me.
Like, why not? But I don't know. I just like it. Just,
we know what's best. The fans.
Yeah, we always know what's best. I don't know. I just feel like Star Wars just needs a shot in the arm in the cinema. Like, and they're doing. They're going to do 3 movies. They're bringing Daisy Ridley back. They're hedging their bets. They're going to do an old prequel. They're going to do and then there's going to be this wackadoo Dave Filoni thing that's going to be.
Yep. The
basically
culmination of the Mandoverse.
Yeah, which is going to have all sorts of weird expanded universe stuff. It's going to be Heir of the Empire. They're going to put Mara Jade in it. They're going to do all this wacky stuff. I don't know. That's the idea of having a Star Wars movie that's a continuation of a TV show. Does that feel weird to you? Does it feel like it's not as an event, as eventful?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does it feel like it's like am I just watching a made-for-TV thing? Should this just be on?
Yeah, it's good because it's. I've always found stuff like that. Like, it's just really it's odd. It's a strange thing from kind of like, just sitting in your armchair and seeing all these kind of threads all kind of come together, and it's kind of like, well, going off to the cinema now to see how it all ends.
Yeah, I remember they were talking about like, they're going to do the Game of Thrones finale. Years ago, they're like, they're thinking about doing the Game of Thrones finale as a movie, or Stranger Things finale as a movie, and I'm kind of going, that feels weird. Like, I know that
it's a peculiar thing.
I don't know whether it is at the end or whatever they're doing, but have you ever seen any of the Star Wars TV stuff at this on the big screen? Oh, like the Obi-Wan. You're at Anaheim for the
Yeah,
Obi-Wan.
yeah. I saw. Yeah, I saw.
And
The
that was
first two
kind
episodes
of that was on a it was on a big
Obi-Wan.
screen. But it wasn't. You weren't in the big room. Were you in the room with us?
No, I was in the Galaxy stage.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You were in the
Galaxy
room with
stage.
us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I saw, I've gone to a couple of screenings. The Obi-Wan finale they did in Melbourne on the IMAX. I got an invite to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mando finale of this season, I got an invite to that the day after I came back from London. So I was Star Wars out, and then I'd landed, and then it was like, do you want to go to another Star Wars thing after you've been on a plane for 24 hours? But
and you saw the second to last episode.
Yeah, so they showed the
see
second
that in London.
Yes, yeah, we did. But again, that was cool. But it was like in the big room on a screen.
Yeah,
it was cool. It's not quite the same, but I'm just trying to equate the cinema experience, and it kind of stands up, but it's not the. I don't know. I just don't feel like it'll have the same movie. You know that magic time when the movie anticipation comes, and there's the trailers, and there's the midnight thing, and there's the all of that stuff. Like, I don't know whether it's this. I mean, who knows? It'll feel the same.
I mean, it might be good. I mean, it's also kind of production. Kind of like the actual. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, the stuff that the various things that like ILM are doing, with like stagecraft and like the volume and such. It's all absolutely fantastic, but it's just not. It just doesn't feel big enough.
Yeah.
It's like all the locations that they're kind of going to. I mean, with the exception of when they actually returned to Coruscant for the Dr. Pershing.
Yep.
Yeah. Pershing's kind of stuff. That was big. That was quite grand. Whereas everywhere else that they've kind of been to, and correct me if I'm wrong, which I probably am, everywhere else has just been kind of like, it's just been like, it's been in like a small village, or it's been in like a cave. Okay, it might have been in a very big kind of underground chamber or something like that, but it's still underground. It's like there haven't been any kind of like soaring vistas kind of like that we got with like the prequels.
Yep. Which is weird because you think you could do it, like you could do it in a computer, I suppose, but it's still, I know what you mean.
I mean, they were doing it with green screen
20 years ago.
I guess it's kind of like there's only so much you can fit in the volume, I guess. It's like, I don't know if it's, I'm sure you can fit a lot of people in there, because the one that they use now is way bigger than the one they used for the first season of Mando. But still, it's just like, I don't know, I just don't see scale. Yeah. I don't see cinematic scale in the TV stuff.
It begs the question, like, what does he want to do? What does Dave Filoni want to do when he's got his little sketchbook out and he's like, I'm going to draw Ahsoka on the top of a Star Destroyer, whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, what is it in his head does he need to do? And he's like gone to Kathy Ken. He's like, in order for me to wrap this up, assuming this is even wrapping it up, whatever it is, even if it's that,
could be the end
he's
of the
like,
first
I need
phase.
$200 million to do this. So in order to do that, in order to pay for it, we've got to put it in the cinema, because even if it doesn't do Force Awakens numbers, even if it does Solo numbers, as long as they don't have to shoot it twice, it'll pay for itself.
Right.
As opposed to spending $200 million and putting it on Disney Plus, and the people who've already paid to be there are already going to watch it. So you're making nothing.
It's
like, even if they literally were like, we're going to, I don't know. Like, if they came, we would, because we would, because we're Star Wars fans. If they were like,
suckers.
if they were like, we're going to put this on Disney Plus 2 weeks later, but you can see it in a cinema for 2 weeks, it would probably still do enough bank to pay for itself. But I mean, they've got to treat it like the whole thing. It's treating it like a movie. Like it's not.
Yes.
It's not a TV. It's not the finale of your
Nope.
TV show. And I think that's the thing. Like it's, and in order to do that, I guess it's like, what is the story? What is it going to be? Who's going to be in it? Is it literally like, is the Mandalorian front and center on the poster? Is it Mandalorian and Ahsoka back to back, on a poster, and whatever it's called, Heir of the Empire, or is it literally like all of a sudden it's Han, Leia, and Luke CG faced on a poster, and Mando's in the bottom corner and Grogu's in the bottom corner? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it, how are we framing this thing? Like, how are we getting bums on seat? How are we telling people that it's not? I mean, you already burnt your Luke Skywalker by putting him on TV. If you're going to bring him back to the big times, if that's where you want to go.
Yeah, it's I guess kind of like the key to it is, and it is kind of building up hype. I mean, it's like, as you mentioned then, with Solo, it was, they shot it twice, but the fact is, like, if you go back and think about it,
it came out like 5 months after last year.
That gets 6 months, and they didn't even start advertising. I don't even think it had a name until 3 months before it came out, even though we all knew it was going to be called Solo, a Star Wars story.
Yeah.
But it's building up hype. Like, I mean, yeah, just treat it like a saga story.
Yeah.
Advertise it as a event. It's like, here's the next chapter in the.
Well, it's also the placement is the sell too. Like, because it's like, well, we already, at least like the prequels, you're like, well, I can tell you what this is. It's young Darth Vader. Okay, I understand that. If I'm just Joe, I've seen the Star Wars movies on the street. I get that. I can walk in. If I go see The Force Awakens, it's like, oh, there's 70-year-old Han Solo. I get this. This is what happens after Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Okay, there's some new characters, but I get it. Like, they're back. If I'm selling this thing, it's like, well, what the hell am I selling here? I'm selling episode 6.5 or whatever I'm selling.
Right.
So do you trade in on the Grogu thing? And then you go, well, people go, well, is this just a TV thing? Again, if you put young Han, if you put 35, 40-year-old Harrison Ford on the poster, and Luke and Leia and whatever else, and they've been youngified, people are like, what the hell is this? Is this a Star Wars movie that I haven't seen before? Like, it's a real, like, at least when they go the Daisy Ridley one, you're like, hey, Daisy Ridley's back. Maybe John Boyega's back, or whoever's back. All right, I can sell this. I understand it. It's
I know who those people are.
Even if you go back to the Ancient Jedi thing, it's like, all right, what's a whole new thing? This is this weird. Yeah. Like, what is this? Like, if you put Thrawn on the poster, people don't care. Most people don't care about that, except for Matt Mole and Jimmy Dice.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I guess it's. Yeah, you do certainly put kind of Mando on there because it's like through the whole kind of. I mean, I think kind of like the whole Grogu thing was like its biggest power and it's like the Mando's biggest ally and its own worst enemy. Mm-hmm. Because Grogu, Baby Yoda, as it was then known as, just exploded onto the scene, and everyone, even if people hadn't seen the show, everyone knew about Baby Yoda. Yep. And so there was some kind of connection there, but I guess it's kind of like really kind of playing on Mando, and I don't know. I mean, perhaps it's just fingers crossed for Ahsoka because I think Ahsoka will be the turning point. I think that's going to be key to this succeeding. Yeah.
Well, it's still going to be. They haven't said which one's coming out first, but whatever the new stuff, whatever the next Star Wars movie is going to be is now 2026 at the earliest.
Yes.
And it was 2025. They pushed that back. So that also the bummer with that also means that Celebration Japan isn't a movie one anymore, which is a bummer because the movie ones are always better celebrations because they drop the trailer and blah blah blah.
No,
they might still drop something. They might if they've got something in the can. Maybe they will tease something.
I think they will. I mean, I'm trying to. Oh no, I'm trying to think when the Force Awakens trailer came out. How long that came out before?
Well, it was December. Yeah, it was. They dropped it almost a year ahead.
Yeah,
because I remember where I was living at the time.
So there's every possibility. Is it? Oh yeah, because you were living in London then, weren't you?
No, I was back by then. No. I was just but it was I'm just thinking about the house that I was in basically, and
Right.
yeah, but 2026. So that means there's still, what are we? 2023. There's still potentially 3 years of
3 years.
Disney Plus content that needs to come out.
Yeah.
That directly ties in with this film, as far as we know. So whether that's at least one more season of Mando, which they said they're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know about Ahsoka. It feels like probably Ahsoka. I mean, Skeleton Key. I haven't even talked about bloody Skeleton Key, which comes out this
Skeleton
year.
Crew. God, I forgot about that.
Oh no, is it Skeleton Key? Skeleton Crew.
Skeleton Crew.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
And
with
then
baby Max Rebo, which I can't wait to see.
Oh really?
Yeah, one of them's a little.
Oh right.
Like a
I
little
haven't
tiny
seen the trailer. I didn't get to see the trailer at Celebration. I saw the Acolyte trailer, which was great. And that's another one too. Yeah. So I mean, there's still. And this is all. They're all new things. So there's still. Yeah, there's still quite a lot of stuff that they've got to keep the momentum going for a couple of years. So it'll be by the time. So 2026 at the earliest. When did Rise of Skywalker come out?
2019.
So it'll be 7 years between films.
7 years.
Far out.
That is wild.
Considering we were looking at a world where
we've
it
gone
might have
longer.
been. Yeah, I know, but it's just weird because we kind of we obviously waited longer, but then Star Wars changed into all of a sudden morphed into this thing where it was like you said, we got Last Jedi and then we got Solo like 5 months later where they were going to marvel at. They're like, oh yeah, you're going to have 2 Star Wars movies a year soon. You're going to be like or 3 a year. You're going to just be going crazy for Star Wars stuff every year, which I'm kind of glad they didn't end up doing, but. It's that weird sort of turning point, because if Solo had come out and made $1 billion, that's
right.
What would have been. That's a weird thing where they've gone. Well, they probably would have pivoted to all these Star Wars movies, but
possibly.
Who knows? It's
the
Filoni one's the most fascinating. Like I think it'll be that the Daisy Ridley one. I think I'm looking forward to the most. Because I think there's a lot of I like the idea of not knowing what's going to happen because that's like that's basically like the newest part of the story. So anything can happen, and even like the James Mangold one so far back that they can do anything. This Filoni one is such a balancing, it's such a tightrope walking thing.
It is, and it's going to be weird seeing a Star Wars Jedi movie without lightsabers.
Do you reckon they'll do that? They'll do that, won't they? Like Ahsoka will have lightsabers.
No. I mean, the James Mangold.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, they just scratch around rocks. You reckon they'll just have like sticks or something? They're just
possibly. I have no idea.
That's quite a fascinating thing, isn't it? Is it just like the first Jedi? Is it just like some guy who, because I think I was sort of talking about it. It'll be like, what was the analogy you were talking it? It was some film he was comparing it to, like an epic. It wasn't Lawrence of Arabia? Was it like Ten Commandments or some kind of?
Oh, Ten Commandments.
Some sort of biblical epic or something he was kind of comparing it to.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was some bloody Charlton Heston movie. Could have been Ten Commandments.
Yeah, but it was sort of the idea of just like whether it's like a society that's sort of scratching around the dirt, and then all of a sudden one guy makes a rock move, and then it's what does that mean and all that kind of stuff like that, and it's quite fascinating. I like the idea of that. It's like a blank slate. Like I like the idea. I love a good blank slate. And then this this Filoni one is the opposite of a blank slate. It's like a slate with like a million levels of of like already having a story in front of it and behind it and leading up to it, and balancing all of that. And how do you balance that? Plus bringing in all these other characters, plus all these things in front of like it's, And I just don't think they'll be able to help themselves with legacy characters. Like I think they'll be in there one way or the other. Some of them,
every possibility. Yeah, I mean once again, every single time you see, like the whole kind of, I just use the term as a blanket term, but de-aging. What they can do now is absolutely wild. I mean,
I don't even think they'll. I mean, they obviously won't. They obviously won't de-age Carrie because she's no longer with us. Harrison, I don't think is getting out of bed for Star Wars, but he'll probably just go, just send someone else. Hamill might front up, Hamill's fronted up before, but even he sort of sounds like he's just like, what do you need me for? You don't need me anymore. You can go do it yourself.
Hey, that's not a bad. Mark Hamill.
Oh, there you go. Superimpose Hamill's face on my face.
They can kind of make anyone kind of look like anyone, and once again, it's if you just we've gone back to Dial Destiny, those first 40 minutes, just some of the stuff they have is absolutely wild. So the possibility of
do you want that though? You don't want to see someone trying to be Leia who's not Leia, who doesn't look like Leia.
Yeah, it's
like, I know we all kind of like, maybe we can just recast and but.
Oh, for sure.
It's still the weirdness. It's still like someone just walks into a room and they go, "Hello, General Leia," and you're just like,
"Right,
what?"
Yeah.
Even if I've been told leading in, like, even if it's literally like, Billy Lord, like, even if they were just like, Billy Lord's going to play Princess Leia from now on, and was like, well, that's the closest you're ever going to get. It's like, it's her daughter. She's the holder of the flame. She's the one who looks after her mother's legacy. All that stuff. She walks into a room, and she's got the Leia's green poncho on or whatever she's wearing.
Right.
I'm still going, that ain't Leia. Like, it's still going to break. Still going to break my disbelief.
I don't think they will go in that direction. Possibly then again, though, never say never, I guess. But I don't think they'll kind of go in that direction. I know Luke is kind of tied to it. We haven't seen anything from Leia. We haven't seen anything from Han Solo. Nothing from Lando either. I don't even think names have been mentioned in the Mando.
No, not aside from Luke, they haven't. No. But
Apart
even then,
Luke.
Has Luke even been mentioned by... Oh, yeah, he sort of said Skywalker and stuff a couple of times, hasn't he? Even like outside of the scenes he's in, he hasn't really been mentioned. You know what I mean? Like,
it hasn't really been.
I think he might have mentioned is like, I saw a Jedi called Skywalker or something. Maybe he got mentioned.
Yeah.
But like, certainly, like you said, they have still haven't mentioned Han or Leia or Lando or anything like that.
So I don't think we'll get them.
Or do they test the waters in Ahsoka? Like, all of a sudden, like, Princess Leia walks into a room, like,
God. Possibly.
Maybe I need to send that to my Scruffy's question.
I've got to do, right? God, no. Yeah, I don't see him doing it, but hey, Is it still a woo moment?
Yeah, never know. Is it still like woo? Or would you just be like, I kind of know how they've done this. You know what I mean? Like, if they're watching the movie and then Leia walks in, it's a completely convincing 1986 Carrie Fisher or however long it's set after. You know, it's supposed to be set 3 or 4 years after Jedi or whatever. Like, do you go woo, or you kind of go, yeah, they were probably going to do this?
Yeah, I'm probably going to be completely indifferent about it.
I think it's more.
I think I'll be kind of
what
like,
is she going to do, and how they're going to make this work?
Is this going to progress the story, or is it literally just there to, Dave Filoni kind of nudging the ribs with his elbow and going,
I did.
See what I did there?
Yeah, because all the other, like, I know they're putting. The interesting one is they're putting Mon Mothma, Genevieve O'Reilly, in Ahsoka. Like, she showed up in the trailer, so there's like a shot of her. So, she is overtaking the role of somebody who played her previously. Like, she's always been like young Mon Mothma,
right?
And now all of a sudden, because you're going past Return of the Jedi, you're leapfrogging over the top of the lady who played her in Return of the Jedi, and now she's playing herself. Does that make sense?
But then again, remember, she was also Mon Mothma in Return of the Sith, but her Revenge of the Sith, but her scene was kind of cut.
Yeah, but you're timelining over the back of an existing actor. So in that theory, you could go, well, you could put Donald Glover in as Lando in that film, even though he kind of looks like Billy Dee, but he does, he looks a little bit like Billy Dee. But at the same time, you're overtaking that performance timeline wise, as opposed to swapping the face with somebody else. And I suppose Alden Ehrenreich is the same, where it's just like, well, you would do the same, where all of a sudden you're putting a Han Solo, rather from that point on, Han Solo looks like this, then looks like that. Like, I think she's the first noticeable person where you've taken over. The guy, actually, another one is, this is going to be a little bit, it probably doesn't really count, is the guy who played Bib Fortuna. Because in Boba Fett, because the guy who played Bib Fortuna in Phantom Menace, who I think he's somebody on staff at Lucasfilm, he plays Bib Fortuna in Book of Boba Fett, and he takes over from the dude who played him in Return of the Jedi, who might be dead now, actually. I think, so there is some overlap. There's some precedence that's been set.
Yeah.
Ultimately, there are no rules.
There's only
basically
one rule.
What it comes down to is that there are no rules. The only rule is people gonna roll with it, basically?
The day after it comes out, and if they do it, you better stay off of YouTube.
Well, that was the thing. Is also like what we touched on at the start. It's like I already know what you're going to say. I already know you're predisposed to hate it. So there's absolutely no reason to check in. Unless I'm already predisposed to hate it, and I want someone to agree with me. Like, who cares what you're going to say? Like I said, if you come around, and you've got a different opinion, then it might be somewhat interesting. But yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting one to sort of like roll on to find out what happens, and it's the in-story kind of madness coupled with the production madness and how you actually pull this stuff off that's kind of fascinating.
And also how ballsy they are.
Yeah.
Because they have been. But yeah, it's... How far is too far? I mean, it's like, I know Lucasfilm forever and a day ago, they said that, they weren't going to recast people, but... yeah.
But can you do... I know we're winding up here, but like, can you recast Hamill now? Even though, because you've already brought Hamill back, you've already established that Luke looks like this in this universe. So it would be even weirder if he looked different now. Even if they were just like, if that Mando episode had pulled the hood up and it was just the guy who was the double who looks a little bit like Mark Hamill, but definitely is not Mark Hamill.
But not quite.
But he could have been like, are you Luke Skywalker? He's like, well, I am. I'm like, all right, well, my brain is just telling me this is what Luke Skywalker looks like now.
Right.
As opposed to having 3 different looking Luke Skywalkers. It's sort of madness, isn't it, really?
It is. It's absolutely insane. And I guess that's kind of one of the things why I'm not kind of... No, you know what? Never mind. I wasn't sure where I was going with that.
You're ready to burn it all. I was ready to burn it all down, but you know what? I've softened my stance. The last 2 seconds.
I'm putting the matches away. Never mind.
Dude, always such a pleasure to catch up and chat with you. And I know you don't go on a lot of podcasts and stuff, but so it's always good to get you on here and things. And like you said, you've taken a step back from social media, but you do pop up occasionally on things. Like you pop up on the Scruffies every now and then. Are you going to be moderating the prediction show or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. And I can't wait to outrage half of Australia when I do it.
Oh, great.
Lovely.
Sounds good like that. So if people
I say half of Australia, I mean Matt Mole and Turbo.
Well, that's all they're in Sydney anyway, so they don't count.
Fair enough.
Well, obviously, like you said, you're taking a step back from social media. So find you on the Scruffies is the best place if you want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not kind of really kind of active. Not really captured. Oh, I guess you can find me on Blue Sky if anyone's lucky enough to. If anyone's lucky enough to be on there, just David Strutt at David Strutt, and there I will be.
I hope that's the one that takes off. To be honest, I feel like it's got.
Dude, I love it. I love the fact you can separate the feeds out. Just the stuff I follow.
Yep. And
just the stuff that you might be interested in this.
Awesome.
Makes me happy.
Cool. I'm not sure what number. I feel like this might be like number 198 or 199 of the podcast. So I don't have anything planned for 200 yet. It might even just be our Ahsoka sort of prediction that we'll do before we start doing the reviews and stuff. So it might not be.
You mean you're not going to get some internationally renowned pop star to number 2?
Well, Darren Hayes are friendly, but he's left Twitter. So, and that was the way that I kept in touch with him. So I don't know, like I'd have to track him down, and I would love to chat to Darren again on it if I could, but I will just have to see. Maybe we'll do something later on, but. Yeah, it's just good to record something. Thank you so much, mate. It's always a pleasure to chat.
Thanks so much for having me, dude.
And we'll catch you soon.
Absolutely. Take it easy.